Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to Johnny Talks with Jim. Some of you know who Jim Satala is. He's a good friend of mine. He's always been welcoming to me. I've been on his show a few times, and he's come on my show before, but I've never had the chance to actually talk to him properly and get into a proper conversation, because the last time I'm always with other people, and you know what it's like. We end up going off onto variants. So yeah. Tonight, I'd like to introduce a great man, Mr. Jim Satala.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you on, mate. Thank you for answering the call.
No problem.
I wanted to, like I was saying, I've obviously spoke to you before, and we've been on each other's shows, but I never really had a chance to delve in deep with you and find out more about you. Like I was reading on your profile, it says you're a Navy vet. That's very interesting. Is there anything tell me a bit more about that? Did you, if you can, obviously?
No, I mean, I joined the Navy when I was 17. I got fooled by the. I was sitting in my basement smoking weed, watching TV, and it was like 1 a.m, and we invaded Panama. And I was watching it, and I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. I want to do that. And so I joined the Navy and didn't do any of that stuff.
Well, you just went through all the training and didn't get to deploy.
I wasn't, I was just an electronics technician working on radar systems, communication systems, stuff like that. So
that's
that,
still good.
Got out,
still good work.
That was it.
Just because you didn't fight, though, you still contributed to the war effort. That's very.
Not really.
Good work.
It's one of my favorite lines from. I don't know if you ever see the movie Under Siege.
It rings a bell. I might have a long time ago.
Steven Seagal, when they're on the boat and they take over the boat, and then one guy goes, I was doing laundry during Desert Storm, pretty much. And
you it says you also grew up in Southside Chicago. Is that right?
Yeah.
So where were you? If you grew up there, where were you deployed when you were in the Navy? Was it far away from your hometown, or?
Just pretty much just in the U.S. California, Florida, and then I was in Great Lakes for quite a while.
So you traveled around America quite a bit then.
Yeah.
And obviously you review comic books as well, and you've got your show BTM Reviews and your channel Jim Tells You. What started your love of comic books? What got you into that?
Oh, I since I was, I want to say 10 years old, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, I started in comic books. I had an older brother who was into comic books and stuff, and so that was it. Just started reading them. And at the time, I wasn't very, early 80s. There wasn't, the first video games were around, but it was like Pong. And I want to say Atari maybe came around in 83, 84. So, I'm 50, so it was different. The 80s were, if you wanted to play video games in the 80s, you went to an arcade. You had to go somewhere to play, basically. It wasn't like, I think it was 83, 84, 85 maybe. You started getting like, like Atari and then ColecoVision, the television, stuff like that came around. And then finally, I think Nintendo was later in the 80s. So pretty much if you wanted an adventure, you had to read. There was movies, but they weren't, it wasn't like a thing where you would see them.
Did you read a lot of normal books as well?
Yeah. I read like I have quite a few regular books. Like I'm a big fan of like Ian Fleming, of Tom Clancy. And there's another guy. What the hell's his name? There's another. I can't think of the guy's name, but he wrote a bunch of stories about a guy named Mitch Rapp. It was like, I think, like American Assassin type of thing and stuff like that. Always like weird, like
military,
thriller, stuff like thrillers, action thrillers and stuff. And,
yeah, that's interesting. I've got a lot of like special forces books where it tells you about their missions, like from their perspective, like from the soldiers' perspective. I like reading stories like that. SAS books and Spetsnaz. and all sorts.
Oh, that's cool. Mm.
So what's the elites in the Navy in America? It's the Navy SEALs, isn't it? Is that like your highest unit in the Navy?
In the
Like,
Navy, yeah. That's like, I mean, that's like, those dudes are crazy, man. It's like fucking extremely hard to, to actually even make it through just training, the first stage of training.
I guess our equivalent, the British equivalent of that is probably the Royal Marines, Royal Marine Commandos. They're the most elite our Navy get, really. Apart from the SBS, which are like the...
Yeah, I mean, isn't there like SAS or something like that in
You've got we've got the
SAS,
which is the Special Air Service, but we've also got the SBS, which is Special Boat Service, which is just for naval operations, really. But the British and American military systems are kind of set out a little bit different. Like we have the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. There's 3 sections, but you got a lot of like interlinks, haven't you? Like intermixing. Like you've got the Marines.
Well, technically the Marines are a department of the Navy,
right?
And the Marines were the first. I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I did have to learn all this stuff, but the Marines, I think, were the first ones established. If I'm not mistaken. It was inside a bar, like before the Revolution actually even happened. The Marines were established before, like. I mean, there was a Continental Army, but it's not so the Marine Corps has been in existence since like the 1780s or something like that. Right. Maybe 1770s. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but a long time. But they're basically, back then you had to have soldiers on ships to go places because anything you wanted to do, you would take a ship to get there. So you had Marines.
Yeah, true. What are Green Berets? I hear a lot about
those. Are like Army guys, or they're like a specific branch of the Army, or like a specific special force of the Army. They mainly do things like counterinsurgency stuff. Like they'll go places and then they'll train groups to fight. Like they'll send a Green Berets in to train like local people to defend themselves or fight against the government or something like that, and insurgency stuff like that, or insurgencies. Not so much counterinsurgencies. Right. I don't. Those guys are, they all have their specific. They have like in the U.S. They have this weird tier system. It's like tier 1 operator, tier 2, and that where they different things, and I don't know. And then you also have like Army Rangers are special operations, special forces, airborne stuff like that, and then different. Marine Recon is another like elite type unit, and I don't know, but I didn't do anything special, nothing like that.
Right, well, yes, it's interesting. Still, I still respect people that even join the armed forces, really, because it is hard. It's not, even if you don't go to war, you still got to go through a lot of grueling training.
It's honestly, it's something I would recommend to anybody, really, if they have a young kid, someone in their late teens, early 20s, to go in to just, it builds character. You learn how to work with people. You're going to meet people of all different races and religions and talk, and get to know them. So all this stuff about like diversity and stuff, it actually, that's great in the military. Whether or not people want to admit it, I mean, you talk shit to each other, and everybody would talk shit. You'd call someone a Polak, or call someone, a Guinea or WAP, or different things, but it didn't mean anything. You still, at the end of the day, you all got along and we're all friends. And
one of my friends, he joined the Grenadier Guards, which are like an elite infantry unit in our country. And he didn't have much family. Like his parents died, he didn't have much relatives. And he said when he joined, it was kind of like, and it became like his family. And he met a lot of people. He became really close, and it's almost, you make a lot of good friends in the Army or the Navy or.
I mean, doesn't the British military still have like not chindits? What do they call, like where they come with the They got the real long sword, or like they're like a special group coming from like. And now I can't even think of it. I just saw a fucking thing about them too. They have like a Karuku.
Oh, I know what you mean. The Gurkhas.
Gurkhas, yeah, the Gurkhas. Those guys are nuts, man.
Yeah, they're an army that have pledged. They're basically a mercenary group that have pledged allegiance to the British Army, and we use them on our operations. They're from like Nepal and Tibet and places like that. But they're very interesting actually, the Gurkhas, because they grow up and their kind of like whole ambition is to become part of the British Army. And
was there like a big scandal because it turned out like they weren't getting their retirement money they were supposed to be getting, that the government of Burma was stealing it all or something, and they had to.
There was something like that, a big scandal. And they also get, like, if they come over here, they get sent over here by their families and their villages and stuff. They fund them to come to Britain to join our army. And if they go through the Gurkha training and they don't pass the training, then they get dishonoured by their families back home and they're not allowed to return. It's actually quite a big deal to them to make it into the army. And I watched a few documentaries about them, and they train alongside our elites, but they do a lot more like you were saying, like infiltration, sort of recon, and they're all quite small as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're obviously Oriental people don't tend to grow as tall as Western people. They've got more smaller statures and frames. So they're good for using it a bit like ninjas, I guess. The Gurkhas are trained to be sort of modern day ninjas in that respect.
Yeah, I heard, read a bunch of stuff about them from, I want to say, during World War II. The stuff they were basically terrorized the Japanese going through the jungles. And
yeah, their stealth ability is amazing. Like my friend was telling me when he was in barracks, he was sharing a barracks with them, and they used to do training in the barracks, and they'd be climbing along the rooftops at night doing like parkour and stuff. And during the Second World War, they used to be so sort of stealth that they could creep up to a German or a Japanese guard that was on guard duty and steal their shoelaces when they were sat down. They used to actually unthread their bootlaces and then get away again, or tie them together even. They managed to get that close to an enemy.
So they were like cartoon characters.
Yeah. So what, changing the subject a bit, what music did you like when you were growing up, Jim? Were you into any music?
Oh, all types of music, basically like classic rock, a lot of stuff, that's what they would call it now, stuff from the city like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Doors, Black Sabbath, stuff like that, and then that's, in the 80s, there was different music in the 80s. The Police were big in the 80s. And
yeah, you got a good taste. That's a good all-round sort of taste, quite eclectic.
But I mean, I listen to all types of music. I listen to classical music, blues, jazz. You just have to be. You have to be in the mood and what you're doing. If you're like just having a drink and smoking a cigar, you might want to listen to some jazz or some blues or something. And driving in the car is different type of music. Stuff like that. But and then because I like anything from modern. Rap. Like I don't like the new modern stuff. A lot of it, I just can't get into it. To me, it's like, what the, I don't know. Maybe it's like they say, you're like, what is that noise? But it's not really that. It's like every once in a while I'll hear something. I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, I find as well nowadays a lot of the music coming out is just sampling old good songs. Mm-hmm. They're repeating them and just changing the lyrics or slightly mixing it a bit. It's not very original or creative, really.
Mm-hmm.
So you growing up in Chicago, you must have seen a lot of crime and stuff like that as well. Then it's quite a rough city.
It got bad. It got bad. Chicago was really bad. Like before I was born in the 70s, it was really bad in the early 70s, and then it cleaned up, and then it got really bad again in the 90s, and it stayed pretty bad. But believe it or not, the 80s were pretty mellow in Chicago. You could go, you walk around and go anywhere. There was no,
Right.
wasn't until like after I came back from the Navy where I noticed it was really bad.
I suppose
you would hear
in the
shootings and stuff
90s.
like that. Yeah, in the late 90s, you would hear shootings, mid 90s, late 90s. You'd be hearing shootings at night and stuff, and reports constantly. And
I guess that's the kind of like the gangster rap era as well, isn't it? Like when all the gangs were very active and.
Well, gangs, yes, but I think mostly what happened was there was a concerted effort to target the actual Italian mafia and take them. That was called the Outfit Chicago, to take them out. And once they got removed, the cartels basically moved in with the Hispanic gangs, and so then there was just basically an ongoing war between the Hispanic gangs and the black gangs, and then
I was watching a thing about a documentary about Al Capone, and they said that he moved from New York. He got chased out of New York and then settled in Chicago and started his
I don't know if he got chased out of New York or not. He came to Chicago because Johnny Torrio, who ended up running the outfit after Big Jim Colosimo got killed, Johnny Torrio was also from New York. I'm not sure where Colosimo was from. I didn't really look into his back history or anything like that. I think he was an immigrant, so maybe he went. But most everybody came through New York because that's where the boats landed. So you would come through New York, and then you would disperse out different places. But yeah, so he was definitely from New York. And like a lot of people don't even realize, prior to 1928, 29, Chicago was ran by Republicans.
Right.
And basically it was when the Republicans ended up losing control of Chicago to the Democrats. That's when Capone had to move from Chicago to the suburbs and took over basically was Berwyn Cicero area and established that because that's basically where the outfit was ran out of there. Berwyn, Cicero, Oak Park, the suburbs.
Well, you're very up on your mafia history, aren't you? You've been studying it quite a bit.
I don't know,
I watch a lot of sorry. I watch a lot of a guy called Michael Franzese. You've probably heard of him.
Yeah. He was a captain in the not Lucchese family, maybe.
I'm not sure now.
Not I know he wasn't Gambino. Was it? It was either Lucchese or the.
It was the one
Genovese, maybe. I don't know.
The one that Donnie Brasco was based on. Their family.
That would be Lucchese then. Yeah, Genovese or Lucchese. I don't know. But
something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's an interesting fella. He goes and interviews a lot of British gangsters as well, and talks to other people that have like reformed criminals. And
I'm fascinated by the British gangsters too, like the twins, the Crays.
Yeah,
that's a fascinating story. Like they were basically.
They're probably the most famous of our villains, of our gangsters, but there was a lot before them as well that they kind of modelled themselves on. And there was a lot more vicious kind of gangs as well in Britain that you don't really hear about at the time.
Oh, like the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah. Well, they're a bit older. They're sort of like First World War sort of era, like razor blade gangs and stuff like that. But I mean, during like the craze were more of like the 60s and 70s. There was a lot of different gangsters around then. And there were certain cities in England that the craze were frightened to go to because they had rival firms. We call them firms over here. In America, they're known as like mafia families, aren't they? Or cartels or whatever.
Cartel. I mean, I don't know what type of power the actual mafia has anymore in the United States. They've basically, with the RICO stuff and prosecuting people, they've pretty much busted up. I mean, I'm sure there's still some, but it's not what it was at any point in time. And some people think
I
it would
know.
be better if it was still, they controlled things. At least they made sure that
Well, yeah.
they didn't target normal people for stuff. You know what I mean? They didn't kill
Well,
everyday people.
that's the thing, isn't it? You're always going to have crime and organised crime, so it's better to have a more professional organised syndicate that's going to go after other criminals and not innocent people.
Yeah, I mean, even the cartels, like the whole, they were basically backed by governments. They were backed by either our government, U.S. government, or the Mexican government. Like that Guadalajara cartel, which was the first cartel, like major cartel that organized all the different, basically, like each state had a different little group or whatever in Mexico, and they were able to combine them all and basically.
Yeah.
Until it was what was the guys there was until they killed a DEA agent, and then there was a whole bunch of problems. They basically busted them up, but it's always been Mexico's government is they're all corrupt through drug money and stuff, and it started with weed. That was their big drug and making money, but then once cocaine got involved, the amount of profits and money in cocaine just ballooned, and because it doesn't cost them really nothing to make the cocaine and Colombia or Peru and get it, it's just getting it there and everything. And once you get it here,
there were a few American mafia families that tried coming over here as well. They had a few little businesses in London, like in the Cray era.
Yeah.
Sort of making allegiances.
Yeah, they all try to do it, and then now in the U.S. too, you've got the Russian mob, you've got Armenian mob, you've got the Turks and different coming in, and so it's I don't know.
And the thing is now is I don't know how it is in America, but in Britain, as you said, there's less honour amongst criminals now. It's very scummy. One's got rid.
It's the same here, I would say. There's the
people are willing to do more horrendous things now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of the stuff you start. I mean, and I don't see that's the thing too. Is maybe we don't know what was going on 50 years ago, 100 years ago, because it wasn't reported. They didn't talk about it. I don't know. They would just say, "Oh, something," But nowadays, you see stuff that's just nuts. Like people going to the houses, killing kids and women, and
yeah, it's disgusting, isn't it? Behind you on the wall are those CDs.
Okay. Where here?
Yeah, those ones.
Those are all Blu-rays. Those are all CDs back there on that shelf. And this is all vinyl albums.
That's a brilliant collection. You should have like a radio show or something where you play different music.
I mean, we were thinking about doing. You could do it on Rumble. Actually, you can't do it on YouTube. You could play music and movies on Rumble. Right now you can. They don't really mess with you. I don't know. Maybe at some point they're going to get in trouble and they'll be like, "That's copyright. You can't do that." But I don't understand what the big deal is. It's not like we're making any money doing it.
Yeah.
We just want to listen to stuff and talk about stuff. But
the only way you can make money really with that is if people super chat you or something like that, isn't it? And that's not a guaranteed income from it. Yeah. So it's not like you're trying to make money from it. Yeah. There's a lot of there's still a lot of pirate radio stations in London, like people that just do it illegally.
Oh yeah.
Break into the airwaves and stuff.
Well, you guys actually have to pay a fee to have a radio, don't you? Like a license fee to have a radio or TV?
Yeah, you're meant to by law, but no one does. No one ends up paying it. It's really hard for them to enforce it, to be honest. I'd say probably about 25% of the country pay it. The rest of the people just ignore it because they want you to have a license to listen to the radio, to watch normal TV channels. You're even meant to have one if you watch the internet, or if you watch YouTube and stuff. Our government try making you have a license for that, but it's pretty much non-enforceable, really. They'll just send some guy around to knock on your door, and you just don't answer, and they'll fuck off eventually. It's I think it's going to die out soon over here.
I don't know. I'm really worried about over there because what you see happening, people getting arrested for hurting people's feelings, basically.
Yeah,
I'm like,
our
whoa.
government are very
Yeah.
bad at the moment. Yeah, it's we need a total shift in government, to be honest. We got the Labour government here at the moment. We had the Conservatives before that. We need something totally new. We need at the moment the best prospect is probably the Reform Party
Mm-hmm.
in England.
Yeah, but see, what basically just like they do the same thing there that they do here, where a new party starts to come up or someone they try to label them, they say, hey, they're racist, they're misogynist, they're
Yeah,
xenophobic, they're all these things, they're Islamophobic or whatever, and try to label so that people be like, oh no, stay away from those people, and it's like,
yeah. They try to
know,
blind you by calling you racist and like you said,
mm-hmm.
as Islamophobic and stuff. But it's not. You want the same rights in your country as somebody else, and like if not, you should have a bit more. Like if you're born in that country, it's very wrong that someone who just comes here, especially illegal people that come here, like we don't tend to have a problem with migrants that come over here and get jobs and want to settle here and get on with our culture and stuff. That's fine. But it's when people come over here illegally, sneak over, they don't want to get jobs. They end up like stealing and doing criminal activities and claiming benefits off of our government at the same time.
Yeah, I saw a report like I think it was Sweden or some country that actually started reporting on the crime from the migrants or whatever you want to call them, the immigrants, migrant crime. It's crazy. And like
Yeah,
they try to they try to lie to you and say, well, no, actually, immigrants commit less crime than the native born Americans. It's like, how would you even know that when the vast majority of police departments are barred from even asking immigration status when they arrest somebody, and they won't cooperate with the feds and tell, you know what I mean? They fight
and
it. It's
there's
it's
so
crazy.
many migrants over there that just haven't got identities as well. Like they're not even registered into the system. They're just
Well, no, and
floating
they use
around.
all fake stuff. They steal, so we have social security numbers which you're supposed to have to work, or taxpayer ID number or something. If you're not a
Yeah,
don't if you get like if you're here on a work visa or something, they're supposed to give you like a tax ID number to work on. But they steal
we got
that information constantly, and you got people working on your numbers, and then they're like, hey,
yeah. We got a similar thing here as well called a national insurance number. Every citizen gets one. So it's kind of like you said, they get stolen a lot or forged.
yeah. Our main problem here is you get a lot of people that are not really informed about how life works and how anything works, and then they start trying to say, well, oh well, there's no reason that anyone should go broke if they get sick. It's like, no, you're right, and there is no reason, and technically you won't go broke. You could always just you're going to get health care. You're going to you can't get denied if you're sick. They have to treat you. It's just we pay for the medical. The problem is right now we're paying for medical for a bunch of people that shouldn't be in the country, and it's
Yeah,
taking money from everything. It's nuts. So who knows? I don't know. We'll see what happens. If they can actually start doing it and getting things fixed.
and you don't have to answer this question because some people are quite private about it. But would you say you're a Republican or a Democrat or?
Uh, I mean, I vote Republican most of the time just because I agree with them more than anyone else. I mean, I don't like, I'm more of like, I would say more of a libertarian, my
Right.
beliefs than anything else, but the libertarians are too fucking retarded to win anything and to actually put Canada, they need to, come and run as Republicans, win as Republicans, and then start putting their stuff forward. Like what they did, where they made it. Had Trump come and talk to him and told him, we'll back, we'll throw our support behind you if you promise to do these these couple things. One of them was freeing that guy Ross Ulbricht, who had the Silk Road website, which I don't think that guy should have been in jail. He didn't do anything wrong. You know, I mean, he had a website. He didn't sell any drugs. He just had a website where people could sell drugs, and he got a fee. That's no different than somebody selling drugs and shipping it through FedEx. Should FedEx go to jail? FedEx got a fee when they ship the drugs, and they ship a lot of drugs through FedEx.
Yeah.
You know, or people
It's
use a
kind of
telephone
like
to make a drug deal. You know, you're going to arrest a telephone guy? But
I don't know if you've heard about it in America, but there's a criminal case over here at the moment where there's a young migrant lad that stabbed some girls at a party, some young kids.
oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and
Like a Taylor Swift
yeah,
theme
okay, yeah.
party.
Now, did they always like here? What happens? It seems is whenever there's this like terrible, heinous crime, they always try to say the person was crazy. That way, they don't have to.
What they're trying to say here is that they're trying to blame Amazon now because they're saying that he managed to buy a knife off of Amazon, so it's partly Amazon's fault. And I think that's just ridiculous because
It is
anything can be used as a weapon. You could find a knife in your kitchen. It's not.
And that's what fascinates me because how England went, you know, Great Britain, whatever you want to call your country. I don't know what you prefer to have it called. How they went from a country that believed that people should all have the right to defend themselves and have arms. I mean, it goes back to the Treaty of Northampton, which is like the 1400s or 1500s, that you should have, you know, everyone should be able to defend themselves and have arms, and
Yeah.
that how it's gone to this point where basically you got to have a license to have any type of gun, and they're going to take it all away. And,
Yeah, the only thing
you need to be able to, you know, a well-armed society is a polite society. You know, I mean, the only reason you would want to disarm your population is if you plan on doing something to them that they might want to try to kill you for.
Yeah. We've got very strange laws when it comes to weapons over here. Like you can collect weapons like knives and swords and things and hang them up on your wall and have them in a collection. But the minute you take them into public, it becomes illegal. Like you have to have a really good reason to have it out with you in public. Like if the police stop you, you can't just say, "Oh, I just wanted to take it out with me," or take it somewhere to practice. That won't be good enough. You'll get arrested or it'll get confiscated. It's very strange.
Yeah, but I mean, but it is strange because, like I said, like all the ideas and the ideals that America was founded on came from Britain.
Yeah,
you know, the right to defend yourself, you know, no taxation without representation, you know, all these things came from, you know, basically from Britain.
Well,
and the only reason there was,
we kind of drove you to it, didn't we? Because at the time our king was being a bit of a prick to you.
Yeah,
he was
that was the thing too. Like they didn't want, you know, none of the and people, the founding fathers of America were all loyal British citizens until they said we just can't take it anymore. And basically, at any point in time, if the King of England would have said, you know what, I'll back off, let's work this out, they probably would. We'd be like Canada, probably, you know, like a protectorate or whatever, you know, or you know, Australia, whatever, any of these countries that were part of the United Kingdom or British Empire, we would have probably still been that way. But who knows? But it was the King George or whatever, I think it was a dick.
Yeah, he pushed himself too far, didn't he? And we spread ourselves too thin as well because we had a lot of other wars going on at the time.
Yeah.
When we were
I mean, Britain was the most powerful country for, centuries. Basically, since when the Spanish Armada was destroyed, what was that in the 1500s, 1600s?
Yeah. With Nelson and Drake.
Yeah, and so basically from that point on, and all the way up until World War II, they basically England, Great Britain was the most powerful country on the planet. It's just I mean, believe it or not, I mean that's the thing is, everyone likes to say that the West. This is probably I don't know. Anyway, that we won World War II, but in reality, look what happened afterwards. I mean, nobody really won World War II. I mean, maybe the Soviet Union seemed like they turned out the best. They got the most land, most people, controlled the most stuff, but then it ended up collapsing on itself. But as far as like England fell apart, France fell apart, the
Yeah.
U.S. only was able to come out as prosperous because we didn't get attacked at home. Everyone else was bombed to shit and destroyed, and so, you know,
We had in England, we had an era just after the war. It was kind of like the boomer era where everything was nice for like 10 or 15 years. And then when it hit like the late 50s, we started getting involved in other stuff. Like there's a lot of wars like the Suez as well, like the Suez Canal and
yeah, the Suez
through
Canal,
Africa.
that was an issue for you guys. But yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
but I
Obviously, the
mean,
Falklands in
the
a later
Falklands,
date.
yeah. Well, you know what? There's still, you guys still have. I mean, like a lot of people think, like, oh, they say, oh, America was never an empire. Fucking America had an empire in the Pacific, like you wouldn't believe.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
the Philippines were basically a
I'd
basically
say
a
after
colony
the
of the
First
U.S.
World after the
Yeah.
First World War, you were kind of an empire. You
Well, yeah.
even
After the it was a Spanish-American War. We took all Spain's colonies, basically. Uh,
yeah.
in the Pacific, Philippines, Guam, what, fuck,
And to
Midway,
this,
uh, to a bunch of them. I don't know, but a ton of islands basically throughout the Pacific, and now
and to this
we had
day, like between Britain and America, we kind of, in a weird way, we kind of run the Western economy, don't we? We're like
yeah,
together, we're pretty unstoppable if we link
yeah.
our armies and stuff
Well,
and
definitely.
tactics.
Plus, it's basically trade. Somewhat like prior to World War II, the British Navy pretty much controlled the seas of the world and made sure trade. And you had the East India Trading Company and all these different things and trade routes to make sure. And basically, you had to get along with England if you wanted to trade worldwide because they controlled the oceans. They had the largest navy, and but after World War II,
Yeah,
it was the Americans basically took over that spot. Uh, because Britain's navy was greatly reduced after the war, just from getting sunk by U-boats, gets different places, and the money was tightening up, and so. But that's the thing is you have to be able to trade, and the only way to still today, if you want to ship large amounts of stuff, it has to be by sea. You can't, it's not feasible to put it on planes and fly it. Just not. It's too
yeah,
expensive.
that's true.
The main problem with the U.S. and I don't know, like a lot, like I said, England used to have a ton of manufacturing too after World War One and all. Like did they not? Did that all get offshored to other places now too, where you're not making a bunch of stuff in England anymore?
Oh yeah, like a lot of our factories and stuff are moving to like India and places like that, like
Yeah,
cheaper
it's the same.
countries.
Right. This is the same problem
Malaysia.
here. Is we moved all our factories when they say, oh, it's okay because we're a service economy. No, it's not okay. You have to make stuff. That's how you create. You can't just basically trade because as soon as the trade gets cut off, then you're screwed. You have to be able to
Yeah,
support yourself. Especially because like right now, the main problem in the U.S. is everything. Like it's gotten worse and worse and worse. But starting around 2004, maybe 2005 it started shifting completely to what's known as minimum wage jobs, where it's just like these minimum wage jobs, which were the jobs that kids used to have, like kids in high school or, in between, before college or whatever. They would just have this job as their first job. And it was, it was probably about 10 to 15% of the work was minimum wage jobs at that point in the 80s and 90s. And then it started
yeah,
shifting. And now it's like almost half the jobs are minimum wage jobs in the country. You can't live on it. You can't pay rent. You can't do anything on a minimum wage job. And
yeah,
and then basically it's because you get these migrants that come in, illegals, whatever, that are working. You'll get 4 or 5 of them working a minimum wage job, living in one place. That's fine, but you can't. You know, you can't. It's not. Your society's not going to continue that way. Basically, you got like serfdom.
it's pretty much the same in England as well.
Mm.
Yeah, just minimum. It's very hard to get unless you've got a trade or a skill. A lot of the jobs
Right.
are just paying
Well,
minimum
and that was another
wage.
thing that they lied to us here, or not. I didn't lie. Well, they tried to lie to me. They lied to tons of people, telling them you have to go to college. You have to go to college. You got to get a degree. You'll never get a good job if you don't get a degree. But you get these degrees, and technology and stuff is changing so fast. Most of the people get degrees; they're worthless by the time they get out into the field, or they're competing against a bunch of people. You know, probably only about 5 to 10% of the people should go to college for something because that job requires it. The rest of the people, you know, you need electricians, you need plumbers, you need carpenters, you need mechanics. You don't need a college degree to do it. You need welders. I mean, all this shit. You know, people building, elevator constructors, anything in construction. Actually fixing things.
Yeah.
You'll make a damn good living doing it.
Are you any good at like building things like DIY?
Uh, well, I mean, when I got out of the Navy, I became an electrician in the electrical union and ended up advancing, became, a foreman, general foreman, superintendent, and built a lot of large buildings in Chicago, hospitals,
Right.
90-story buildings, huge apartments, hotels,
Are you
hospitals,
are you a
cancer
good
research. I mean, I'm
like
okay. I mean, I've always been good at when I was young, I used to take just for whatever reason, I would just decide I would want to take something apart to see how it worked.
and
You know,
theoretically speaking, if you were ever to decide to become a supervillain, are you a good enough electrician to make weapons, like electric weapons?
I,
Theoretically,
theoretically, sure.
that's cool. I've seen some really cool, like I think they call them rail guns. They're
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
those are super
electric.
cool railguns. They work with magnets though. It's a super electromagnet that drives it super fast. But there's all sorts of stuff like you can still in the U.S. still there's a lot of things people don't realize you can do in the U.S. that are really good to know. Like you can get a permit in the U.S. It's a small fee, and to actually work on your own fireworks, which you don't you if you want to make them really big, like you can actually make your own display fireworks. Like you see the huge fireworks display, you can build those yourself. You just need a permit. It's real easy to get uh,
That's cool.
and build that stuff. And so learning how to make stuff like that, make your own,
Yeah,
flash powder
fire,
stuff like that to make things that make loud noises and scare people. That they're fun.
yeah, fireworks in the UK are quite getting more common now. Like if you're doing it for a public sort of display, you have to have a license if there's the public involved.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's on in someone's house or private property, you can pretty much buy fireworks and set them off whenever you want.
Yeah, well, just
I
like
used,
everything else, they keep making it harder and harder to do things. A lot of states started outlawing fireworks. Like, oh, you can't have anything that comes off the ground. You can't have anything that does this. And you used to, years ago, you used to like hell. You used to be able to before I was born. When I'm saying like before the National Firearms Act in America, you could actually have hand grenades mail ordered to your house.
wow, that's mad.
Yeah, or machine guns. You could just order them in a magazine. They would just ship them right to your house.
I am kind of jealous of Americans in that respect. That like I'm not some kind of nutter. Like if I had a gun, I'd be quite respectful with it. I
Yeah.
use air rifles quite a lot because
No,
they're
it's just a
legal over
tool.
here.
A gun's just a tool like anything else. You have to know how to use it. You have to use it right, and you have to just respect it. But a lot of people say like,
Yes,
"Oh, you got the Second Amendment," and the Second Amendment says you got the right to keep and bear arms. There's over 60,000 gun laws in the United States.
yeah,
I mean, that's it doesn't sound like we have a right, does it? So yeah, but
yes.
I mean, same thing with speech. Start to keep trying to do things with speech in the U.S. Keep trying to lack it down and do different things and say, "Oh, that's hate speech. You can't say that." Well, then what speech is protected if it's not hate speech? Like speech, if you like it, it's okay. But if you don't like it, it's and that's the point of having the right to free speech, which is another thing that comes from England. They had the what
Well,
speaker's corner, right, where the person would be able to get up and say whatever they wanted, and
That is literally the only free speech we have left now. Like, you've got more free speech than us. We're not allowed to do half the things you do. Like, for instance, like extremist groups like the KKK and the Black Panthers, they're allowed to march and stuff, aren't they? In America, they're allowed
definitely,
to.
yeah. Well, it was the thing, like
we couldn't do that here in England.
Even
you just get shut down.
We have this organization in the United States called the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and they used to fight to defend anyone's right to speak and protect civil rights. But at some point in the 90s, I want to say late 80s, 90s, they got co-opted by the left, basically the extreme left, and decided that they're only going to defend left-wing positions. So if you're not on the left, communist, socialist, whatever, they're not going to defend your positions. So, because they actually fought, and there was a Illinois Nazi party wanted to march through a Jewish neighborhood in Skokie, Illinois, and a court told them they couldn't. They sued. The ACLU took the case, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and won, and said you can't deny the Nazis the right to talk. Now, I don't want Nazis talking, but they have a right to do it. I'd rather hear what they say than, when you start pushing things and making it hidden in dark corners and different recesses, that's bigger problems.
Well, that's the thing, it's better to have an honest racist than a sneaky racist. Like, if someone tells you that they don't
keep trying to change what it is to be racist. It's not racist to say, oh, look at this guy breaking the law. And it's, well, he's, you can't say that because he's, his skin is this color, so you can't point out that he's breaking the law. It's like, no, that's not how it works. If I would see somebody and immediately assume that just because they're a color, there's something, the amount of melanin in their skin that they're prone to commit crimes, or that's racism. That's bigotry. Yeah. But pointing out when someone actually does something wrong is not racist.
Yeah. Definitely. And changing the subject again, you're obviously you're the co-host with Jim.
I wouldn't say I'm a I don't know. Maybe you could call me a co-host. It's Dave's show. I'm on there a lot of times. But
with Dave,
with Dave, yeah. But he was just he asked me to come on one day, and we kind of hit it off and started talking. And
well, I sort of class you as a co-host because you share it on your channel as well, don't you? So it's kind of
he lets anyone, he'll let anyone who comes on, like if you come on as a guest, you could stream it to your channel.
Oh, right. All right. Well, yeah. How did you two meet anyway? How did you sort of
in the chat? I want to say it was in a chat, maybe on like Ethan's chat or something. Just came across him, and then I saw his channel, and I went to his chat, and he said, "Oh, you want to come on?" And I was on other shows years ago. I went on some shows and stuff, different other things. I don't know if you know what the kill stream is, or this guy Drex, who was friends with, I don't know if you know who Nick Recaita is.
Yeah, I know Nick Recaita,
yeah. So Drex had a show called MGTOWN Podcast. I was on there before and stuff. It's still around. But,
Well, I find you a good combination. Like you've both got good opinions, and you're very you complement each other. You make good. You should be co-hosts. I think you should have a show where it is both of you do, like permanently. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, we do like on Friday nights. We've been doing reviews of I didn't want to I didn't want to do every night where you're just basically detracting different stuff. I was like, why can't we just find some stuff that we could talk about that we like, and do
bit so more pop culture stuff.
Yeah, so there's this TV series, I don't know if you ever saw it, called Justified. It's a TV series from a while back. So we every Friday night we do Justified Friday. So we'll do a couple episodes and talk about it. And we did do review shows on the Penguin, that new Penguin series. And we were doing the new Game of Thrones. That was it called? Fire and Blood or whatever. What did you think of
the new Penguin series? I thought it was very good. I thought it was a good.
I thought it was good. There was some stuff that there was some parts of it that I was like, I see what you did, trying to pull some crap. But all in all, I would say it was some of the best stuff that's been out lately. I'm really looking forward to the new Daredevil that's supposed to be coming out. 'Cause I really liked the original Daredevil series that was on Netflix and the Punisher series that was on Netflix. So hopefully they'll, keep keep whatever, maybe get the same writers that those. I don't know.
I was talking to a friend about the Batmans the other day, and I was saying, even though I think I'm a really big fan of the original Tim Burton ones. I know it was very like not close to the comic lore, and it was all mixed in. It was like a
For
mixed
the
match.
time, I think what was that, 86 or 87 that the first Batman, the Tim Burton Batman came out, right?
Yeah,
So for
around
the
that sort of
time
time,
and what it
maybe even
was,
earlier.
it was great. You know what I mean? Because it was like, oh my God, it's Batman. It was this huge thing, and
Yeah, it kept the comic book feel. I think it was very like
yeah, it was
exaggerated
it was
and
campy. It was
cartoony.
campy and it was cartoonish. But was it 89? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, it was the 80s. I know that it was in the 80s. Uh,
89, Carbon Heart says 89.
yeah, but I really liked the Batman Begins and the Dark Knight and Dark,
Yeah,
Dark
I
Knight
liked it.
Rises. I Dark Knight Rises. I didn't really like as much because I thought it was like seemed very rushed. Like they were like just basically wanted to get can't even think of his name. The actor wanted out. I, I can't even think of his
Not
name now.
Christian Bale, was it?
Christian Bale. Yeah, he wanted. That was it. He wanted to be done with Batman. So that's
Yeah,
was like this whole thing where, like he got his back. He gets his back broke, gets sent to the thing, breaks out of the prison. Like it seemed like that. Like they aged him super fast and did all. It just there was. I don't know. I thought there should have been more movies after The Dark Knight before that happened in Dark Knight Rises. You know what I mean? There should have been several movies, and
yeah.
they should have brought Robin in instead of
I
just the
would have,
thing at the end of it where it's like, oh, this is going to be Robin now.
I would have really loved it if Tim Burton stretched his out a little bit more. Not just have like 3 or 4 of them, but like take your time and show it in different bits, like fighting different enemies a bit slower rather than mixing them all in
Yeah.
at once. But
Hold on a second. What's up,
no
buddy?
worries. Thank you for tuning in
It's my
so far,
grandson.
ladies and gentlemen.
Hold
Oh, cool. Hello, little Jim. Hello. You got a very cool granddad. You're a lucky little boy.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries, Jim. Thank you for tuning in so far, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking with Jim. I'll just mute him a minute, a bit of privacy for him. Yeah, talking with Jim Satala. He's a very nice bloke, isn't he? He's what I class him as a good friend. He welcomed me. When I think it was Nick, actually. Nicholas Mahue put me onto him and BTM reviews. That you mentioned them. I sort of like got in with them. They're good blokes. If I've been on their show once or twice. And obviously, I don't know if they're not really, they're sort of adjacent to Comicsgate, aren't they? They involve themselves in it a little bit now and again, talking about it. I wouldn't say they class themselves as Comicsgate. Maybe I'm mistaken, but they're sort of Comicsgate adjacent, is what I call it. Like myself, I'm kind of like a Comicsgate ally. I'm interested in Comicsgate. I support it, but I wouldn't say I'm diehard Comicsgate. I don't. As I've said in the past, I don't like everyone that's in Comicsgate. I'm not here to be everyone's friend. You got to show me a little bit of respect and introduce yourself and stuff like that. I'm just, it's a bit like what Shane Davis was saying, isn't it? About they were saying he was rude to someone because he said, "I don't know you." It's a dark gift. It's like you can't just expect everyone to like each other and like instantly be mates. Like life don't work like that. You got to show each other a little bit of respect. So it is a bit, yeah. Straight shooters, BTM review lads, yeah they are. You're honest. That's what I like. Honest people. They don't pull no punches. Most of you lot are honest. My chat. You're all good people. You take your time out to watch. Some people can't be fucked, can they? They don't. They could easily do it if they wanted. Just give you a like or a share or something. But they're too lazy, too idle. Yeah, as I said, it's been interesting talking to Jim. I wanted to know a little bit more about him. And I'll probably try and have him talk to Razor Dave as well at some point. If he'd like to come on and do a little chat. There's a few people there's a few people that have been on my shows in the past that I want to kind of get on just one-on-one and sort of talk a little bit more in depth. Maybe ask a few of the questions I've already asked them in the past. I might be guilty of that now and again, so I might have forgot, but I think it's good to get to know someone. You all right, Jim?
Yeah, I'm good. He's just, he's a 2-year-old, so they don't really listen very well.
Yeah, no worries at all, mate. I know what kids are like. I've got mates with young kids. I'm all right with kids. You can't control them, can you? They're like little creatures.
They have minds of their own. Yeah, so maybe, I see Carbon Heart's thing about says Bale says he regrets not continuing as Batman. Was it Bale that wanted out, or was it Nolan? Maybe it was Nolan that wanted out. The director.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Nolan. I know someone wanted out and they wanted it over with, so maybe it was Nolan.
I do like Christian Bale as an actor, but I don't think he suited Batman. To be honest, I don't. His Batman wasn't the best.
He was he was okay as I honestly I really liked. Most people are gonna get mad at me. I really liked Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he was a great Batman, and good at very very good at.
He had the right
Bruce
sort
Wayne,
of chin,
the right sort of chin and everything, and the good. He was like. I mean, I did not like. Honestly, I did not like Michael Keaton as Batman. Like, he was okay as Batman itself, but as Bruce Wayne, he just didn't seem right to me. I don't know.
I can understand that.
George Clooney was okay as Bruce Wayne, but it was still like you knew who he was. So it was like, it's kind of like you don't want this. It's George Clooney, not Bruce Wayne.
And who would you say, if you had to really decide, who would you say out of all the Batmans that you've seen in your life so far, are your favourite Batman and your favourite Joker? The actors, the ones that have portrayed them the best. If you had to choose
I mean, the best portrayal of Joker, I think, would be Heath Ledger.
Interesting.
A
lot of people like Heath.
I mean, what was it? Romero from the TV series was good. But yeah, I think as far as like Batman, my favorite Batman portrayal of ever would be probably the cartoon series. No, but no, I don't know. I thought Val Kilmer was good, and I also like Ben Affleck, but that's just I don't know.
Yeah, I'll probably say I'll probably be quite controversial and say that Jack Nicholson was my favourite Joker, and Kilmer, probably Kilmer as Batman.
Nicholson was really good. It was just
he wasn't.
It was
like
Nicholson.
The comic book Joker.
Yeah, it was Nicholson. Though, you know what I mean? It's Jack Nicholson. So as far as like I think this Penguin series that the guy, what the fuck isn't it? Colin Farrell, is that his name, right? He did great, as the Penguin. I didn't really like Danny DeVito as the Penguin. It seemed very
it was a bit like slapstick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like
I mean, all that was like the Joel Schumacher stuff was really slapsticky. You know, you start getting into the, you know,
Even though it was a bit cheesy, I did like it when they put Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
he was
He
okay
was
as
a
the
bit,
Riddler. You know, he was okay as the Riddler, and like what's her face, Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy was fine. You know,
it was a bit. I didn't really like Arnie as Doctor Freeze. I think that was a bit
yeah,
weird.
no, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Doctor Freeze just it wasn't good. Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face didn't really like. You know,
Yeah,
like the guy in the one actually Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, yeah, the Dark Knight. Trying to think of his name. The actor that played ended up being Harvey Dent and ended up being Two Face was. I thought that
I
was
know what
good.
you mean. I can't think of.
I can't think of his name. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's got like blondish hair. He's been in a bunch of movies and stuff. He's usually not
Yeah,
like a leading man actor, but I can't think of his name. Uh, you know, like you know, I don't know. I mean, I even like honestly, I'm not one of the people that look at Aaron Eckhart. Yeah, he was good. He was
right.
also in that Battlefield Earth, I think, or what? Yeah, Battlefield Earth, I think it was, right? Or Battle Los Angeles or something. Battle Los Angeles, maybe. But
Do you
I'm not one of the people that look at a movie and be like, "Oh, they got this wrong. They should have did this." But you know, like I'll get mad if they stray like really far from the source material, like in you know, movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Like they like Game of Thrones and the new series. Like they've changed so much from the books. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I like Lord of the Rings, like the Peter Jackson films and stuff. It, they were fine, you know, adaptations. There's only so much you can do. Uh, I don't know if you know, like, but like some people get very spun around the axle about like, oh, they changed, you know, like this person's supposed to have this color hair, or it's supposed to have this, you know, thing. It's like, come on, man, don't just watch the movie and is it good, and does take you out of it, you know, and put you there. But you know, I don't know. I enjoy movies that are fun, have a good time, like
Yeah,
like that the new the new Daredevil, the Daredevil versus Wolverine. The plot was totally stupid, but the movie was fantastic. It was a ton of fun. I
yeah.
enjoyed the movie like crazy. It was like
Do you like any horror movies? Are you into horror movies at all, or is that not your
yeah, I
thing?
like horror movies. You know, like older stuff. Like you know, like I grew up watching like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Halloween movies.
Nice.
Like you know, Psycho. There was one called Motel Hell that
I
was really
prefer
good.
ones like that, like slashers. Halloween
Yeah,
is my all-time favorite. I love
you know.
Halloween. They did ruin it a little bit at the end, to be fair. Some of the takes on it were a little bit weird. I like the very first two. The very
I
first
didn't did
two were my favorite.
like that. What was it called? Like I think Blair Witch Project. It seemed like to me, I was like, I was like, well, just somebody running around shaking a camera. I was like, this isn't really,
Yeah,
I like jump scares when it's like, and you're like, holy shit, are they scary? I mean, I like that, but
I can kind of. I guess when it first come out, I can kind of see the appeal. A lot of people thought it was real, didn't they? It was a bit of a
yeah,
hoax, like
yeah.
especially in England. They tricked us all into thinking that it was real before they released it as a movie. So we thought it was it was actually lost footage, like found footage.
And
Yeah,
then
but
there was like,
I'm not into things like that really with horrors. I'm more of a slasher fan, like a cheesy sort of like serial killer.
okay, so like Texas
But
Chainsaw Massacre type.
yeah, and Nightmare on Elm Street, that's cool. I like
Yeah,
that. I really like Freddy Krueger. It's an interesting concept, good story, and a bit like funny as well. It's like dark comedy, isn't it? Old
hmm,
school Freddy. He's got a bit of like he tells jokes and stuff and says cheesy
yeah,
things.
yeah. Like that was a big thing in the '80s. They would always try to put comedy in everything.
Yeah.
Like drop jokes and stuff. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's like, what are you doing?
Did you ever watch the Child's Play movies like
Oh yeah,
Chucky?
with Chucky, yeah. Ah, I'll be your friend
Yeah.
to the end.
Yeah, they were quite creepy.
Mhm.
The original ones.
Yeah. And then what was it? The other it was the one with like Creep Show. Remember Creep
Yeah.
Show? The movie that was good. You know, Twilight Zone, obviously, Outer Limits.
I also like a lot of horror films about like weird like The Hills Have Eyes and
Oh yeah,
Wrong Turn.
you know, Children
Things
of the
like that.
Corn.
Yeah, like strange communities of people that live out in the wilderness or like things like that.
Like The Deliverance.
Yeah, that's a brilliant film. It's a bit like obviously there's some scenes that are a bit cringe that you don't want to
Yeah.
watch, but it's a good plot. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Classic film. We always do that. Me and my mate Bjorn when we go out camping. We'll go out to like Dartmoor or something and take a radio with us, and we'll now and again we'll just play the Deliverance music really loud just to freak people out a little bit if they're coming nearby. Oh, Jim's just got to pop away a minute. He's shutting his door.
It's all right. My dog opened the door that time.
That's right. What sort of dog do you have?
It's a pit bull.
Oh, nice.
American
Right.
Staffordshire Terrier.
Oh, brilliant. Lovely dog. I used to have a Yorkshire, not a Yorkshire, a Stafford, just a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. They're really nice dogs. A British one. Yeah, I love dogs. At the minute, I've got I've got a three-legged Jack Russell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he lost his leg when he was young. When he was a puppy, he ran out. He jumped up on this like a picnic bench, and he decided to sort of like leap up into the air as high as he could, and he landed awkward on his leg. And it was either we had to get like the operation to fix his leg. They were going to try and charge us like it was something stupid like 10 grand or something like that. Fit 12 grand. It was either that, or you had to amputate his leg, or have him put down. So I just thought, and the vet said because he was so young, he could sort of like he could learn to sort of live without it.
I've seen a lot of three-legged dogs. They seem as long as they're young enough, I think they could get by fine with it. You know.
Yeah.
Even I think does it make a difference? Is it a back leg or a front leg?
Is a back leg, so it's like he's got his one leg that's got really strong and muscly because obviously he's using it a lot, and he can still run just pretty much as fast as he could when he had four legs. He's not.
Yeah, I wonder if it makes a difference if it's a back leg or a front leg.
Yeah,
when I think about it, most of the dogs I've ever seen that were missing a leg, it was a back leg.
Yeah, I should imagine front legs. When dogs lose their front legs, they usually have to put like wheels on them and stuff, don't they? Because they can't really control their balance as well. I think he was in that respect. He was probably lucky losing a back leg. Do you like the outdoors, Jim? Do you ever go like hiking or camping? Or
I used to go go camping a lot when I was younger and stuff, and but it's a we spent a long time trying to make the indoors a lot better and perfect being indoors. So why go outside? Like rent a cabin, go have do something. But look, sleeping in a tent, that's a young man's game.
Yeah, I guess I still like to do it occasionally. It's just like the feel of it. Like I always get really good sleep when I sleep in a tent. It just feels really peaceful, and you get fresh air and stuff like that.
Oh well, yeah, definitely. I mean, sleeping out, when around all the trees and everything, you're going to get a lot more oxygen. So you're breathing a lot more oxygen and stuff. So that's better for you. Different reasons. It's good. Like I like to fish and hunt and stuff like that. So I mean,
I definitely understand your take on it. I've got a lot of friends like you that are like, yeah, I can't be bothered to go camping. I'd rather just rent out like a log cabin, chill out with a fire or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, a lot of people think like, oh, it's not cheap to go camping when you got to buy all this, like tents and sleeping bags and all the stuff to cook outside, and It's like you
Yeah,
could have rented a place
yeah.
for all the costs.
I,
So unless you're going to
I
do it
like.
all the time,
I tend to go quite minimal, to be honest. We do a lot of wild camping. We don't go. Me and my mate, we don't really go to campsites as such. We just find places in the wild. Take an army backpack with a bit
okay.
of gear in it, and just like find random places.
Now, is there still like England has a lot of problems as far as like access to people, right, to go places? Like, or is there, because
Yeah,
there's a
there's
lot
only
like,
designated sort of national parks over here where you're allowed to camp, like
okay.
totally free, just wild camp. Sort of like you got loads in America, haven't you? Different
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they
national.
got this. You got the federal ones. You've got state ones. You got city,
Yeah,
local ones, and then there's all types of like. Basically, there's tons of areas where it's just not fenced in, and as long as there's not a fence, you can go there.
up in Scotland, they've got no law when it comes to camping. You're allowed to camp pretty much anywhere. It's like 80% of Scotland's all right to camp in, unless it's like royal land or like heritage land or something. Um, but yeah,
You
we've probably
still,
got about 4 or 5 sort of big national parks throughout Britain that we can camp on. Apart from that, yeah, it's quite scarce. You have to, if you go camping anywhere else, you have to be quite stealth because you're not really meant to camp there. So it's a bit of a risk, but it's fun. And we've gone to a lot of places that you shouldn't technically camp at, like by law, but we've never been caught or no one's ever really bugged us because we don't damage anything. We just like clean up after ourselves and no one knows you're even there. If you respect your campsite and don't leave loads of rubbish and crap around, damage any trees or anything like that.
well, that's the thing. That's a problem pretty much everywhere. Is people don't take care of the stuff. They show up and they don't clean up after themselves, and you know you uh, a lot
Yeah,
of times it's people that aren't whatever you want to call them, newcomers, whatever, and they could just think that someone else is supposed to clean up after them. But I don't
yeah.
know. I mean, it happens. Then they
Do
end up
you,
closing down the areas and won't let people come in anymore because it's like, well, we're not going to clean up, so we just won't let people come in.
yeah, they ruin it for themselves. A lot. You get a lot of that in England. Like even on the ed, like on certain parts of the national parks, they keep debating whether to shut down little bits of land because you get graffiti and stuff like that, and they don't want to keep having to wash it off. Because we got in Britain, we got a lot of natural landmarks like natural rock mounds and sort of like Stonehenge, but lots of mini versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all sort of like royal heritage land. It's historical.
Well, they've
So,
got like a lot of stuff too. Don't like if you find stuff on your land in Britain, it's technically not yours. You got to call the government and tell them. Like if you dig in your backyard and find like,
yeah, yeah, really. Yeah, but again, it's not really enforceable. It's kind of like if you found like ancient Roman coins in your land, then you just yeah, I guess you just keep them, wouldn't you? Or you're meant to take them to a museum if you find something like that, and then you can. There's a chance for you to sell it to the museum. I think
yeah, I'm
they
surprised.
evaluate.
A lot of people these days probably don't even know that London was a Roman town.
Yeah, well, the Romans built a lot of Britain. They built a lot of different English cities in Britain.
Hadrian's
But then they
Wall
got
was
chased off again, didn't they, by the
yeah.
Celts?
Mm-hmm.
Celts eventually just chased them out, and their stuff fell into ruin really for a long time. But there's a few famous. I travelled. There's a city in up from London called Bath in England, and that's a really nice Roman city. There's a lot of old architecture. If you ever visit England, that's a nice city to visit. Very low crime rate. It's all peaceful. They've got a lot of canals and things like that. Nice places to walk. Have you ever left America, Jim? Have you ever
Only
gone in?
well, no, only like I've been to Mexico a couple times. I've been to some islands in the Caribbean. and stuff. And
Fair play.
I want to go places, but it hasn't worked out
It's
that way.
very expensive as well nowadays, isn't it? It's too much sometimes.
I really want to go to Australia at some point, but I keep hearing that it's not really a real place. It's make believe, so I don't know.
Yeah, Australia. It used to be their government's quite left wing now. I think in Australia they're a bit woke, bit like Scotland over here.
Yeah, we'll see. They'll have to reverse it maybe at some point.
Yeah, it's a nice country though. I'd like to visit it as well, Australia. I'd like to see the outback, like the deserty part of it. Because it's one of the only countries, because it's a big island, isn't it, Australia? And they've built all their cities around the outskirts on the edge by the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle, it's like
very big. And if I'm not
desert.
mistaken, it's like 70 or 80% of it's uninhabited. Like there's nobody living on it.
Yeah, it's central Australia is pretty much just desert, I think. It's like desert and a bit of forest, like rainforest.
Yeah, I think they found a lot of like gold though that people have been going and trying to like get the gold out of the ground and stuff, and I think they found other stuff there from other minerals and stuff. So
yeah, there's people that live out there as well. Like they have ranches right out in the middle of nowhere. They say it's a very dangerous place, the outback.
Yeah, I think there's there's a lot more things there that can kill you, like spiders and bugs and birds, different things that are deadly. I mean, they lost a war to the emus.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird thing. Kangaroos as well. They're apparently kangaroos are breeding at a rate that they can't stop, so they've got to try and cull them because they get aggressive. They start getting like the male ones start getting randy and trying to attack people.
Yeah.
Here's Australia. It's a nice shape, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, around I think obviously the drier looking part is more deserty, isn't it? And then you got around Alice Springs and Queensland, you've got a lot of forest. There's also bits of jungle, I think, in Australia. Because they do that game show thing there. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. They chuck them in the jungle, don't they? I think that's filmed in Australia.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, Australia has basically everything on the island. That's technically not an island; it's a continent. I'm pretty sure it's
it's part of a continent, isn't it? With some other things as well. Yeah. Australasia.
Yeah, but it's got
Tasmania.
Tasmania. You have desert, you have snow, mountains, you have river. You know what I mean? Basically, you have all different.
That's a good name. Mungo National Park, down by New South Wales. Mungo National Park.
Where are you going to go? Mungo.
I'm going to Mungo, mate. Good day. Wallabies. What's that? That's a koala bear, isn't it? Koala bear. Kangaroos. Yeah, it's been great having you on though, Jim.
Thank you. No problem. I'll be on later tonight on my channel. Every Sunday I do a show at 10 p.m. Eastern call, just a random stream, just talking about, random news articles I pull up and stuff. If you ever want to pop on, I don't know what's the time difference there? You're about 8 hours ahead?
It's 20 minutes past 11 at night over here. It's not too bad. But I've put a link to your channel in the chat. It's pinned
Okay.
to the top of the chat, and I'll put it in the information once this is finished as well.
All right, I
And
appreciate it. Thanks for having me
probably
on.
yeah, it's great, mate. You can come on again sometime.
Yeah, no problem.
Next time we have a big panel on, I'll invite you over and we'll have a chat
Yeah.
with some other people.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you
I
for
can
coming
come on
mate.
on the weekends, like Sundays, Saturdays. I can come on in the mornings. This time I don't whatever. During the week, I generally don't stream during the day because I'm watching my grandson.
Yes, that's and I respect that as well. I bet you're a fun granddad. I bet you got
I
some good.
try, I try.
Have a good I'll try and tune into your show later. You have a good
All right,
night,
buddy.
mate.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone in the chat. Have a great night.